Under the Moon. Chapter 4. Prison 888. Commander Sadak was in his room at the biggest hotel in Kisangani. Suddenly he heard the phone. "Commander," someone said very quietly. "A man and a woman from ship OM-45 in prison 888. The telephone went dead. Sadak put the phone down, stood up and left his room. Prison 888 was a big building without windows near Gog's house. There were a lot of guards at the gate, and some more guards marched past the building. All the guards carried guns. Commander Sadak walked across the road to the prison. "I want to visit someone. My name is Commander Sadak." "I'm sorry, Commander," a guard said. "We can't open the gate. Nobody can go in without a letter from Earth Commander." "That's all right," Sadak said, and walked along the road past the prison. A guard ran behind him. "Excuse me, Commander," he said quickly. "Please come back tonight. I can open the back gate at midnight. You can see the two people from ship OM-45. Sadat looked at the guard. "Your captain's going to kill you." The guard smiled. "My captain phoned you about the two people from OM-45. He's the brother of Captain Zaru." Sadak didn't smile. "The prison commander is going to kill you and your captain." "It doesn't matter," the guard said. "We want to help." "Midnight," Sadak said, and walked away. At midnight, there were 4 guards at the front gate of prison 888, and there was 1 guard at the back gate. The guard opened the gate and Sadak went in. The guard said nothing. They walked downstairs into a big room. A lot of prisoners slept on the floor because there were no beds or chairs. Kia and Rilla sat on the floor near the door. "You can talk for 5 minutes," the guard said quietly. "The next guard arrives at 12:15. Kia and Rilla stood up. "Good evening, Commander," they said. Sadak looked at the prisoners. "Why are all these people here?" he said to Kia and Rilla. "They're in prison because Gog doesn't like them. I talked to Gog about rain. I talked to him about the AOL, but he never listens. Today, someone told me about some fires in the new forest here in Africa, but Gog doesn't want to hear about those fires." Sadak laughed angrily. "And he doesn't want to hear about my trees in Australia. He never listens to me. He's always thinking about Mars, not about our beautiful planet Earth." Kia listened carefully. "Take it easy, Commander," he said quietly. "Please talk to Adai. Adai wants to help. He can come back from the moon and help you." "No," Sadak said. "I phoned Adai this afternoon. He's a good man and he wants to help, but I don't need help. I'm going to stop Gog. I'm going to kill him." Kia closed his eyes for a minute. "Gog's guards have guns. They can kill you, Commander," he said. "You need more people to help. Wait for Adai. He can help you to look for more people." "No, Kia," Sadat said quietly. "I don't want more people. Adai can come back to Earth after Gog is dead. After I am dead, perhaps. I don't want Adai to die too." "Excuse me, Commander," the guard said. He looked at the clock near the door. "Okay, let's go," Sadak said to the guard. He looked at Rilla and then at Kia. His eyes were very blue. "Goodbye," he said. "Goodbye, Commander," Kia said. "Be careful," Rilla cried, "and good luck." Early that morning, Earth Commander's house was quiet. A guard opened the door. "Good morning, Commander Sadak," he said. "Earth Commander isn't in his office." "That's all right," Sadak said. "I can wait." Sadak went upstairs and waited. At 8 o'clock, Belle came into the room. "Good morning, Commander," she said. "You're early this morning. Are you happier today? Earth Commander was very angry with you yesterday. Don't begin talking about rain or the AOL today." Sadak smiled, but his blue eyes were cold. "No," he said. "I'm not going to talk about rain today." Just then, Gog came into the room. He looked at Sadak. "What's wrong? Why are you here at 8 o'clock in the morning?" Sadak took his gun from his pocket. Gog saw the gun and his face went white. His eyes were dark and afraid. For a second, nobody moved. Suddenly, Belle's black and white cat ran into the room. "Guards! Guards!" Belle shouted. The cat jumped at Sadak and Sadak hit the cat away from him. Belle ran across the room to Gog and Sadak, at that second, shot at Gog. But Belle was between him and Gog. She gave a cry and fell to the floor. Her hair looked very red on the black floor. "No," Gog cried. "You shot Belle." 3 guards ran into the room with the big guns and stood in front of Gog. "Kill him," Gog shouted and began to help Belle. Sadak looked at the guards and then at Belle and Gog. Kia was right. He was going to die. I'm sorry, Kia. I'm sorry, Adai, he said quietly. The god shot Sadak. Slowly, he fell to the floor. We can live on Mars. 2 spaceships, Mars 4 and 5, are going to visit Mars this week. 2 years ago, ship Mars 1 visited Mars and began to change the planet. Mars 2 and 3 visited Mars last year and began to build the first town there. The planet is much warmer now, and 3 months ago it began to rain on Mars. We can live on planet Mars. Earth Commander said that today. One day, soon, people are going to live on Mars and they're not going to come back to Earth. Chapter 5 Forest Fires. Later that morning, 4 guards took Rilla to Gog's office. His face looked tired and his eyes were red. Leave us, he said to the guards. Then he looked at Rilla. Tell me about Kia. When did you first meet him? Is Sadak his friend? What do they talk about? Rilla looked down at the floor and said nothing. Come on, tell me, Gog said angrily. He waited, but Rilla said nothing. Tell me about Sadak, then. Your father and Commander Sadak were friends. Now, you're talking to Sadak about the AOL. I know that. What is Sadak saying? Why? Why do you want to know about Commander Sadak? Rilla asked. I'm asking the questions, not you, Gog said. Did you see Sadak yesterday? The AOL is important, not Commander Sadak, Rilla said. Gog watched Rilla carefully. Sadak is dead. No, Rilla cried. He is dead, Gog said again. You lost your friend, here in this building, early this morning. My guards shot him. Rilla's face went white. What happened? Tell me. I'm going to tell you one thing, Gog said angrily. I'm going to destroy Australia. I'm going to burn Sadak's new forest there. You can tell all your friends. Sadak wanted to kill me, but I killed him. He wanted money for rain, money for the AOL, and now he's dead. You can tell all those prisoners in prison 888. They wanted to stop me, but they can't now. I'm going to Mars. Bell always wanted to go to Mars. He began to hit the table with his hand. I'm going to leave this dead planet. Nobody can stop me. You're crazy, Rilla said. You kill Sadak, but one day someone is going to kill you. Gog stood up. His face was tired and he looked ill. Be quiet, he said. Guards, take her away. Back to 888. The guards came in and took Rilla out. What happened? She asked them. Commander Sadak is dead. Why is Gog angry? The guard said nothing, but after they returned to the gates of 888, a guard said to Rilla very quietly, Bell is dead. Sadak didn't shoot Gog, but he shot Bell before the guards shot him. A guard took Rilla into the prison, and soon she was with Kia again. What happened? Kia asked. Tell me. Rilla put her hands over her face and began to cry. Sadak is dead, she began. He didn't kill Gog. He killed Bell before the guards shot him, and now Gog is going to destroy Australia. Kia sat down on the floor next to Rilla. His face was sad. Don't cry, he said quietly. 3 or 4 prisoners came across the room. What's the matter? They asked. Sadak is dead, Kia said, but Bell is dead too. What's going to happen next? Someone asked, but nobody answered. The next afternoon, Captain Saru's brother took Kia and Rilla to a little room at the back of the prison. They sat down, and 5 minutes later, Captain Saru arrived. Nobody smiled. You were right, Captain, Kia said. Gog sent us to prison because we told him about the holes in the AOL. Saru smiled. You were right, Kia, she said. Those satellite numbers were very bad. I began to tell Gog, but he didn't listen to me. Would you like some coffee and some sandwiches? Saru's brother asked. Yes, please, Saru said. I'm hungry. She looked at Kia and Rilla. Things are very bad. What's happening? Rilla asked. You know about Sadak and Bell? Yes, Gog told Rilla yesterday, Kia said. Saru smiled, but her eyes were not happy. Gog talked to me this morning, she said. Her brother came in with the coffee and sandwiches and Saru began to eat. Gog wants to know about Sadak and about you, she said. He's going to kill us all, I think, before he goes to Mars. Suddenly, Rilla felt ill. I can't eat now, she cried. But she took some coffee and began to drink. Let's get out of here, she said. Perhaps we can get a plane to Brazil and go to my family. Difficult, Saru said. Last night fires began in the new forests in Europe, and they're moving across Europe. The fires in Africa are burning fast. Gog began to destroy Sadak's forest in Australia yesterday. Did you find Adai? Kia asked. A die. You never stop talking about a die. What can he do? Rilla said. She felt angry. Saru looked at Rilla for a minute. Yes, I found a die before I came here. I told him about Sadak and Bell and about the fires. He asked about you, Kia. He can't come down at Kisangani airport because Gog is there with a lot of his guards. Ship Mars 4 is nearly ready and Gog is watching it. He wants to leave Earth tomorrow. How can a die help us? Rilla asked. He can't shoot all the guards here. Captain Saru finished the last sandwich. Let's leave that to a die, she said. We can do nothing. Are you going to stay here? Kia asked. Yes, Saru answered. Adai is coming to the prison after he arrives on Earth. Oh yes? Rilla said tiredly. But when? God can kill us before Adai comes. No, he can't, Saru's brother said. You can stay here, in this room. God's guards are all afraid of the fires, afraid of the people. They aren't going to look for you here. Chapter 6. Spaceship to the Moon. And so they waited and waited. Rilla slept in her chair. Kia and Saru talked quietly. Saru's brother came and went. Most of the prison guards ran away with the prisoners. 7 or 8 people, some prisoners and some guards, didn't want to run away, so they came into the room and waited too. 10 o'clock came, then 11 o'clock. It was very quiet. Saru walked up and down the room. Kia sat next to Rilla. Saru's brother came into the room again. It's after midnight, he said. Just then they heard the noise of a plane. Kia stood up. Come on, he said. Let's get out of this building. Quietly, they left the building. It was a dark, hot night. There were no guards in front of the prison, so they went to the gate and waited there. Suddenly, they saw the plane. It was a little plane, and it came down on the road in front of the prison. Rilla took Kia's hand. You were right, she said. I'm sorry. Kia smiled. He began to feel happy. That's all right, I understand. I know Adai very well, and you don't. The plane stopped, and someone opened the door. Kia ran across to the plane. How many can you take? He called. There are 12 of us. That's all right, someone said. Quickly, the spaceship is waiting. The 12 people got into the little plane, and the plane began to move. Rilla looked at the captain of the plane. He was tall, with brown hair. He looked nice. Was this the famous Commander Adai? Where is the spaceship? Kia asked. At the old airport, Adai said. One of the fires is moving very quickly across the new forest. It's going to arrive at the west of Kisangani before tomorrow, I think. But the old airport is okay. Then Commander Adai looked at Kia and smiled warmly. My brother, he said. My little brother, in prison 888. Your brother? Commander Adai? Rilla asked. But you didn't tell me that. Kia smiled. Nobody knew, he said. But now, it doesn't matter now. Everyone can know. The little plane came down at the old airport, south of the town. Let's be careful, Adai said. We don't want someone to shoot us before we leave. The spaceship was dark. Quickly, everyone jumped down from the plane and ran across to the spaceship. Soon the spaceship left Earth, and everyone looked down at the burning planet. They saw the dark smoke over Africa, and, here and there, through the smoke, the red, angry fires. The fires are destroying the forest very quickly, Saru said. Adai put his hand on Kia's arm. I'm sorry about Sadak, he said. I wanted him to wait, Kia said. I wanted him to talk to you. Adai's face was sad. He didn't want me to die, he said quietly. He was a good man, and now he's dead. And Gog is going to Mars, Saru said. Mars? He's crazy. Mars isn't ready for people, Adai said. But Gog wants to go, and so he's going, Saru said. Tell us about the moon colony. That isn't ready. You need more money. No, I don't, Adai said. The moon colony is ready. I asked for more money because of Sadak. I wanted to give him money for rain, but Gog didn't listen. He wanted all Earth's money for the spaceship to Mars. I don't want to leave Earth, Rilla said sadly. She felt tired and afraid. Adai smiled warmly at Rilla. Nobody wants to leave Earth, he said, but under the moon is the best home for us now. Wait and see. The moon colony is a beautiful, wonderful country, with rivers and rain, forests and flowers, buildings, and the first town. You can visit Earth again soon, and bring more people to the moon colony. We all want to help Earth, because it's our first home. I know that. At the same time, you are going to be happy under the moon. Suddenly, someone cried, Look at the moon! and through the window of the spaceship they saw the moon before them, cold, white, and beautiful, and there, under the moon, was the moon colony.